Hey
Hello.
everyone, my name is Andrew Davison. You're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and yes, I am hard to kill. But enough about that, as I have with me comic creator Preston Poulter from Pocket Jack.
Hello.
So welcome back.
It's good to be back. I got
Yeah,
some
no,
exciting stuff.
yeah, you got a lot going on. You got a
I
lot
do.
going on, and obviously you got Palace of the Golden Princess, the relaunch
Yes.
one. You got some
Yeah.
stuff going on with Pocket Jack Comics. You got
Yeah.
some
I
things
I got
happening.
I just got this from the printer today. It's my printer sample for White Lily, the trade paperback. It's got foil lettering. Oh, check it out. This is the second printing, 164 gorgeous pages, and I'm looking and we didn't make any mistakes. It
Good. That's
but
good.
which, by the way, the first time I did the White Lily trade paperback, there was a mistake, and then the second time I did it, there was a mistake. So it only took me 3 times. But you know, they say third times. It's the third time I did the printing of White Lily, no mistakes. Hooray! There we go. And it's got the foil lettering edition, and this is available in your local comic store. You should go get it. It's the true story of the two deadliest female fighter pilots who ever lived. Yeah.
Yes, so obviously that's out there, and I'm going to give you a chance to promote it again at the end. But
Okay.
why don't you introduce who you are? Because you've been on my
All
show
right.
a bunch. I think this is like the fifth or
I
sixth time
have.
at this point. And you've always been good to me. I appreciate it. Everybody gets a bunch of free books from you still that I ship out. Of I think one of the White Lilies. I think number issue 4. I think issue 4 it is. So
Yeah.
or 2. It's somewhere in the middle. So they have to buy the other like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah. The other
the
four.
joke's on them. But
I hope people like it.
but
And
all kidding aside, why don't you introduce who you are? Because as I stated, people know who you are, some people don't, and every day I'm getting new people into my audience. So what do you
okay,
exactly do? What is Pocket Jack? All that
I
stuff.
I make comic books and movies. We just finished our second movie, filming wrapped in November. It's called Frontier Crucible, and apparently we got Army Hammer uncanceled. So I don't know if you know who Army Hammer is.
I don't.
But,
I
oh,
don't.
okay. He was in the Social Network. He was in Lone Ranger. Do you remember Lone Ranger?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well he played the Lone Ranger. That was Army Hammer.
Learn something every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy was Army Hammer. And he got massively Me Too'd back during the Me Too, but back during COVID. And we cast him in our movie, and here now a Hollywood Reporter touts big screen comeback. I'm turning jobs down. There he is. And yeah, our movie is listed in here, Frontier Crucible. That's the western we just made with him. So yeah, I make movies. I make comic books. I may be making a comic about that movie. I'm trying. It also stars Thomas Jane, who's really passionate about comic books. He's been publishing comics for a while. Right now, he's got an exclusive with Comixology. He makes a comic just to be distributed by them. So
That's cool. An Amazon
yeah,
company. An
yeah,
Amazon. So go buy AWS, everybody. Good
exactly.
company. Let's actually talk about this stuff because
Okay,
again, movies are similar to comics, but they're also very different.
they
And
are.
I'm
Yes.
thinking about that as far as the fact that I just like buying entertainment companies in the stock markets. I think they're great companies to buy, and I think they're undervalued.
I think
Tremendous.
Warner Brothers took a big tumble. Um, like
Don't
back
don't
in.
remind me. Don't remind me. I have some of their
Okay.
shares, but I got that off of a spinoff of AT&T, so it's all right.
Okay. All right.
but yeah, I do want to talk about this. So what is this like? Because obviously, when you go to doing movies and writing movies, producing
Mhm.
movies, it's
Yes.
very much similar, I think, to comics as far as creating a story. But you also have a bunch of other tools,
Yes.
and that's what's cool. Where what could work in a comic might not be able to work in a movie, or vice versa, because depending what type of movie you're making, special effects can be very cool in a movie.
Yes. But I mean, I feel like special effects are the easiest thing in a comic because the artist can draw anything, right? Whereas in real life, when we were making Frontier Crucible, we had a special effects team, Sandy and Tate, and Sandy had won some Emmy awards for working on The Mandalorian, and also, yeah, he worked on that movie about the guy Leonardo DiCaprio who got left for dead out in the wilderness.
Oh, should I know the movie. I know the movie.
Yeah, that movie.
So Tom Hardy's in there, right?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. Anyway, but so they were working on the staff and they were creating some cool effects, but they also worked on the remake of The Thing in 2010, and they were really upset because like they were doing practical effects, like the stuff that they were doing was stuff that the camera would film, and when they worked on The Thing, they were expecting it to be like a practical effects movie, like the original John Carpenter The Thing, but instead there were a lot of digital effects used, and they found that very discouraging. Whereas when you're in the comic book, like the comic artist can creatively draw all kinds of things, and you don't have to worry about how a special effects team could pull that off.
True, but I like special effects because I think it's cool when you see it and then like it's real visual and like
Yeah.
it's almost real, right? Like that's
Yes.
the thing about making a movie where when I read a comic, in some aspects in a movie, I don't have control how
Mhm.
to really, I guess, with time and the movie is being narrated to me. And that's the difference I
Yes.
feel with a movie versus a comic book versus even a book. I can control how fast something is said or read in a book to
Mhm.
some degree because I have a visual interpretation of a character. You
Mhm.
know, I'm a big Parker fan, and that's I can't think of who wrote Parker, but he's like kind of a career criminal, and I have an image of how Parker speaks and how fast something is said. But then there's
Okay.
other characters on how things are said, or even just voices, or even how you interpret it in a movie. It's predetermined for me. And so what is that like? Because that's also another, I think, different writing skill. Because when you direct and write a movie, you have to tell me as the audience what, how fast something is said and what emotion is being conveyed. Versus in a comic, I have more control as a reader. If that makes any sense.
Sure. I mean, you have even more control on a novel, right? Because then you're not bound by whatever the artist drew. Now you can visualize anything you want,
That is true.
right?
That is true. True.
I mean, look, let's look at like a romantic plot, right? You read a written description of a woman, but you could visualize any woman you wanted to. Whereas in a comic book, the artist is going to draw a particular style of woman, and you have to decide if you like that or you don't like that. And in a movie, it would be a specific actress, and maybe you're like, oh my God, I really don't like, who was in Transformers?
Megan Fox.
Yeah, I don't really like Megan Fox's political views lately, so I'm turned off to Megan Fox. I don't want to see the latest Megan Fox movie. It's you become increasingly bound down to like a specific person playing a specific role, whereas comics is broader and novels are broader still.
I guess. I mean, again, I don't know anything about movies. I like seeing them, but I wouldn't
Mhm.
know how to direct one. I wouldn't know how to write one. I would be terrified to even
Okay.
attempt because, it does require capital. And that's the other thing that's also really interesting too, is that
Yes.
when you are building a movie, you are
Yes.
putting capital in to it. You obviously just on a technical level need film crew to some degree, even if it's a small one. You need, you know, other staffers, you need people, maybe props, you need to potentially pay, I guess, a shooting fee, maybe, depending on where you're shooting. And so, what is that like, too? Because that's a big endeavor as well, where putting money into comics, and I'm going to take a shot here, it's anywhere from 6 to 8 grand is what an issue should
Sure.
cost.
Yes.
On it, a
Movies
little
are
bit more,
definitely
a little bit
a
more.
higher tier of financing.
And so what is that like? Because I think that's what makes you very different than everybody else right now in comics to some degree is that
Yes.
you're doing the movie stuff. This
Yes.
is now no longer a comic thing, it's a media business. Like
Yes.
like I'll use an example. Zenoscope did something with Grim Tales of Terror on a
That's
Blu-ray.
awesome. What did they do?
They did an episode and they
Okay.
kickstarted, and I think they did like 90 or 100,000. And
Nice.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's like it's on a Blu-ray. It's going to be cool. I'm so excited for it, right? But that's
Right.
also a different beast because now you're physically shooting like a 45-minute
Yes.
episode pilot, and then you're putting it on a Blu-ray,
Yes.
right? Like that's a whole different animal collectively. And then depending on how much money they raise,
And I
maybe
gotta say, $100,000 is not a very big budget for a 45-minute. I guess you'd call that a short. It's not that short. Most shorts are like 10 minutes, but 45 minutes is not a feature-length film. They're the expectation is going to be like 90, so it's half of a feature, but that represents a fair investment of capital, and $100,000 is not a lot when you're talking about
they called in a lot of favors because I had Joe and
yeah.
Ralph on it, which means they called in a lot of favors of people they knew, people owed
Okay.
them favors, so they didn't need as much money as somebody might think they needed, but also
Yes.
they put up some money of their own too. It wasn't just the
Right.
Kickstarter wasn't just, but it was a good part of it, right? And it helped tremendously, and it also helps with the distribution as far as producing a Blu-ray. Because if
Sure.
you film something, at least this is what I think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but you need a way how to distribute it.
Well,
Because
yes.
so if 20,000 goes to getting people Blu-rays, now I'm more interested because I have a physical copy of it, if that makes any sense.
Sure. I mean, distribution when it comes to the movies is not my department, but a lot of times we're discussing, straight to video kind of stuff. In which case, well, it's not, a Blu-ray disc package as much as just it's going to be distributed by, Netflix or Amazon or whatever, whatever video format you need. So I just look at it as like you put the video in the appropriate format for Amazon or for YouTube or for iTunes or whatever, and they send you money and hooray. On a Blu-ray,
I think
I don't know.
that what they
Yeah,
wanted to do, and this is just, and I'm curious how you feel about
sure.
this. They wanted to give their audience something that is a collectible, but it also fits their audience, right? Because they're not opposed to putting it on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or wherever else it needs to go, or even on their own website at some point. But I also think they say, cool, we want to print some Blu-rays because people like collecting stuff and they want some collectible because they're a comic book collectible company, right?
Okay.
So like that's the other thing too is that I'm at the point where I would like to look at my Zenescope Blu-ray when it comes on my shelf, right? I have a shelf full of Blu-rays. So
So
for
you
me,
want to collect the Zenescope Blu-ray, like just to have it on the shelf, like yeah, I
yeah,
own.
yeah, yeah. I think it's
Okay,
cool. I think it's cool to have it in your library.
sure.
Like for me, it's more of like, cool, what's in your library? What's that one, right? And also
Hmm.
nobody can take it away.
Right,
That's the other thing too. So like, but like I watch a bunch of bad stuff too. But like if it was on Netflix, I'd probably watch it on Netflix.
right.
To be honest, I wouldn't even crack open the Blu-ray. But I like having that cool option on top of it because I think
You
it's
never
cool.
use it, but you might. So that's why it's cool to have it.
Yeah. Also,
There
I
is.
feel like I'm in a club when I have it, right? Like
Sure.
I feel like I'm in a club because there's only going to be so many of those out there.
Yes.
So like, but that's how I feel. But I'm a weird individual in that regard.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I'll let you define how weird or not you are, but
It's okay.
I mean, like, yeah, I gotta have the Blu-ray just to have it, so I know I have it. All right, fair enough. That's
I think it's cool. Like I like having a collection of
you're a collector, and
yeah,
collectors get like that. They get like, I want the thing, so I can have the
yeah.
thing. So I've collected it. Not I'm never gonna watch it. I'm just gonna collect it, and now it's sitting on my shelf, and I like it there.
I like looking at it. I like waking up and seeing it on my shelf. Like
Okay, that's
it,
awesome.
I
Have
view
you
it as
seen so we're talking about the Zenoscope Blu-ray, right?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you seen the film itself? Did you ever actually watch it?
No, because it didn't come out yet.
But you have a Blu-ray,
No, so I ordered the Blu-ray on Kickstarter,
right?
and I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay, got it.
but I'm excited to watch it too, right? And this
I
is why I
thought
think
I
so.
thought what we were talking about was you
Oh, I'm
had it,
sorry.
as opposed to you expect to have it someday.
Yes, yes, yes. But
Okay.
it's like ordered, so I know it's coming, right?
All
So,
right.
but like I'm excited for it. But like I think it's so interesting when companies enter media because I
Sure.
think it's really cool. And obviously Zenescope took and adapted their comic, but they did put capital in. I mean,
Sure.
when you put 150,000 or 200,000 into something, you're no longer fucking around. Is my point.
No.
So I mean, I don't know how much money you put into this film, but obviously it wasn't $1,000.
No.
So
It was certainly north of that.
I'm
Yeah.
being generous. I'm giving you softballs here for a
Yeah.
reason. But like that's what I think is fascinating because when you start putting 50, 60, or even 30,000 in, that's real money.
Sure. Absolutely. Yes.
So I find it fascinating, and I don't know
Just
if I
like
could.
just like if you're I don't know if you ever do any sports gambling,
Oh, of
but
course not. Of course
yeah,
not.
but if you have money on a game, it's way more interesting than if you don't, right?
Absolutely,
Right.
it's stressful. It's
Yeah.
stressful.
Like the game takes on a whole significance if you've got a wager on it, you know?
Let me just explain. The Atlanta
Okay.
Hawks did
All right.
something so interesting last night
Okay.
where they're playing, I think, the Utah Jazz, and
Yeah.
that game should not have been what it was.
Okay.
Um, and pretty much with like 1 second left, they hit a buzzer beater of a
Mhm.
3-point and won the game, and it was
Okay.
great, and it was so exciting, and I was jumping up and down,
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah,
realized
exactly.
that my foot was starting to hurt.
Yeah.
And then like the night before, I put money on the Sacramento Kings versus they were playing the Washington Wizards, and that went into double overtime. That's a whole nother ball game too. Is okay. And when you have like two, three, $400 on a game, oh my god, it's a different animal completely.
Yes. Yes. And that's how it is in life, you know? The stories are stories, but you get particularly invested in the ones that you're putting a lot of money behind. Such as White Lily. Yay.
So when's that coming out? That movie?
You should be able to get that from your comic book store. Or, go order it today. And I hope you enjoy it.
But I do want to back out of the movie stuff. But I do want
Sure.
to talk about Palace of the Golden Princess because
All right,
I
go
know
ahead.
that book the best out of all
You
your books.
really you like that one better than White Lily? Okay.
I know it the best. Um,
Okay.
I know it the best.
Why is
I
that?
it's just the first one I've read, and I've read all of it.
Okay.
So and then I've read all of White Lily too. And then I
Right.
don't think I've read pieces of everything else we've written. I just
Sure.
don't remember all that other stuff. I know White Lily very well, and I know Palace of the Golden Princess
Okay.
very well.
So I'm glad. So what do you think about Palace?
Oh, I think the art's fantastic. I
It's
think
really good. Yeah,
the
I agree.
art is fantastic. Like I would love to see a black and white, just line work of it. If you have
Mhm.
it, that would be sick to just read that because like Faust, I think it is.
I
Tim
no.
Virgil, I want to say, or Virgil did it.
Okay.
Faust is like X-rated Wolverine, right? Everything in that book is violent, but
Okay.
there's a color version of that book, and then there's a black and white version of that book.
Huh, I've never heard of it. All right, crazy.
You don't read Faust in black and white to read Faust. You read it to look at the art. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
So it's kind of like when I read Scott Snyder's the Court of the Owls in black and white.
Right.
Very different book in black and white than in color.
Okay.
And so I don't even think there's any like words. I mean, also that book is read where one page is the art and the other page is the script. Fascinating way how to read a comic, but you also get a very different understanding. But I think Palace's art is fantastic. And then I like the fact that it's D&D. I like the
Yes.
fact that it's female empowerment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it to like my 3-year-old niece yet. I don't think it's ready for her, but she's 16. I mean, I think that there's some good lessons that could be learned out of it.
Well, all right, tell me. What's a good lesson out of Palace? What do you think?
I
I'll tell you what I put in. Just kind of softballing it out there. Like I show a government that's entirely run by women, and it's rather contentious, and there's a lot of infighting, which I think is probably true of like any government. But I I do feel like at times women will struggle to come to a consensus, and like that is important. I feel like first of all, I feel there are some fundamental differences between men and women, and
Oh,
women are more consensus driven, and that can be a bit of a problem when they're in power positions or running a government. So like I showed like the government of Alluvia is very kind of there's infighting and it's very fractious, and their
so
rebellions have to be put down and stuff like that.
I think that that's interesting. So I think it's fascinating because once you take out the dynamics of men and women, right?
Mhm,
And it's just a bunch of women run governments, right?
mhm.
You could see that running a government, it still has problems, right?
Yes.
So it's not the government and running a country, whether it's a democracy, a dictatorship, a monarchy, whatever you want to call it, it still
Yeah.
has issues. And so your book is just didn't eliminate every problem 'cause there's still men
Yeah.
around, obviously,
Yes, there are
but
still.
it highlights governmental problems in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
meaning that it's not a sex thing. And I know this sounds crazy and it's controversial to some degree what I'm saying, but if you did it with all men and all women, you eliminate that issue of great one gender's causing the problem. Because that's one thing I got out of this, but I also got out of the fact that there's some badass females in this book. I
Yes.
mean, you got some badass females fucking carrying swords, dealing with
Yes.
and like not taking shit. Like
No, no, there's yeah, if you wanna see women carrying swords and not taking shit, you come to the right place. That's a lot of that.
it's nice where I mean comics and it's gotten better. I think it's gotten better that it's gotten more there's more female readership. There's more
Mhm.
female characters that are not eye candy, but there's
Right.
plenty of books that are legitly show me your tatas on the covers, right?
Yes.
And so like this is not that though, and that's what I get out of your book that I think is fascinating. And I
Alright.
think it's a pretty basic story. I don't think there's anything that's overly complicated, right? Like, so you could read it and then within 5 issues, you get a complete story too. And that's something that's nice about this as well. So, like, that's how I view Palace is that great. In 5 issues, I got a whole story. And now I don't need to go and read 52 issues of Batman.
Right.
And I get all the nice things, but you also get some sexy shit going on, and you get
Ye
some Tata stuff in there.
yes, there's certainly some sex appeal.
But, like, I I
Yeah.
I don't but we also get the counterbalance to that where we get a character who's a badass,
Yeah.
and she's a strong female.
And you also get a man in Sir Edmund who is our villain, he's a chauvinistic villain, behaving in a way that I think a lot of comics books would find problematic, you know? But because, he's the villain and he's, opposed to this kind of all matriarchal rule, which he finds kind of nonsensical, he gets to act in a way that is overtly sexist. And, you know, because he does get defeated and punished in the end, we kind of go, well, that's okay. He was the villain, which is what we tend to do with villains. Like with villains, we usually settle with the things we want but can't own or have, so we explore them by at the distance of, well, that's the villain over here who's out to control the universe, like Darth Vader, out to control the
Even Vader wasn't
galaxy.
the villain, he was
Yeah.
vilified, he wasn't the villain.
Which
It was
one?
the evil Han Solo. This is all Han Solo's fault, and Yoda
Mhm.
couldn't get over the fact that Vader bested him. That's what Star Wars is about.
There you go.
Vader's the good guy.
I stopped following Star Wars.
I did too.
I just
After
I
6, I was
I
done.
was I was real excited when Disney bought it, and I liked The Force Awakens.
Oh, we can't be friends anymore.
I had I mean, look, what's not to like about The Force Awakens? It's a rehash of Star Wars, but
It was
whatever,
good. It was good. The
Yeah,
8th one killed me. The 8th one killed me.
right. But after The Force Awakens, it goes downhill real fast, and I
I
was amazed at the lack of quality
So
from
so
a
let me ask you this,
billion-dollar
right?
franchise. Yeah,
Let me ask you this because
sure.
I thought 9 was average, right? I didn't think it was
I
great.
didn't even watch it. That's how done I was with Star Wars. Like when I heard like Rise of the Skywalker involved, like I somehow Palpatine has returned. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Stop.
So this is
Yeah.
my whole thing, right?
All right.
8 is we're stuck on a cruise ship, right?
Right.
But that's what 8 was. And my friend is
Yeah.
sitting there with me and he's like, I loved it. I'm like, what the fuck movie did you just watch? Like, what the
Right.
fuck here?
Yeah.
So 8 was a disaster. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, cool. We're wrapping this up nicely. We're gonna put a little bow on it. It's an average movie at best. At best.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with 9. I had a problem with 8
Yeah.
because 8
Eight.
was a waste. It was a
It
waste.
was. Yes. I mean, the problem with the sequels is they were not, they weren't composed as a joint project, beginning, middle, end. Like here's our story arc. And I was really shocked to find out. I was really shocked when they were like, "Oh yeah," when it was whatever the title of 8 was. This is how much I blocked them out of my mind. I can't even tell you what the title of 8 was. When it was The Last Jedi, and we brought on Ryan Johnson to direct, like we didn't really give him, here's what the story is over, here's the story arc over 3 movies, here's the story you need to tell in this one. They just, hey, you have carte blanche to basically have the screenwriter. And why is Ryan Johnson making all the creative story decisions? Isn't he the director? Like, and he just, I wanted to go off in this other direction. So Luke Skywalker, he gets the lightsaber, he just throws it away, and it turns, and he made all these decisions that then later got decided, oh, that was just Ryan Johnson going rogue, and now J.J. Abrams needs to come and scale it back and act like that didn't happen, and then we're going off in this other way. I'm like, who makes movies like that? That's insane.
Again, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And you and me have a very different potentially interpretation of movies because I just watch them, right?
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy watching anime and I watch as a fan. But
Sure.
when I'm going to spend time in a series, so like I'm in the middle of finishing up a series and then starting Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to start watching an anime that's 50 episodes, right?
Okay.
You better in the first 3 episodes tell me and get me interested because if I'm going to spend 50 episodes with you, which is like 13 hours of my time, it better be fucking good. Like,
Sure.
and I get that Star Wars is 9 hours, but like that's so as a fan, I'm looking to get the most from my buck, for my time. So,
Yes.
and maybe you view movies differently because you're producing and directing and writing and involved in it, and that changes, I think, the game. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think if you are making a movie or making a comic, I don't think you can potentially read a comic the same way ever again. And I don't think if you're making a movie, you could watch a movie the same way ever again.
Well,
That's
yeah.
the
I
thing.
mean, it certainly gives you a different eye. I remember reading one of my movie heroes that I'm always trying to emulate, Roger Corman, talking about, going to see movies and just sitting down and just being amazed how much money they spent and how much of it maybe didn't end up on the screen. But, like Roger, other people will sit there and go, oh, wow, that was cool. And Roger Corman's like, oh, my God, I can't believe they spent all that money to do it. They could have done that way cheaper. So when you are tackling it from a producer standpoint, I guess you do have some real appreciation for where, oh, wow, they spent a bunch of money to do something that I don't have the resources to do. But I don't know. I mean, stuff is so cheap these days with like CGI and all that. Back in the day when they made, Richard Burton and Liz Taylor and, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, they have these big chariot races and stuff, and there's an auditorium full of people. Those were all people. Those were all extras that each one of those guys you had to costume. And so there's like, what, thousands of people there? That's thousands of costumes. That's thousands of extras. You're like, man, how much money did they spend on this one shot? That's amazing. But now it's all CGI and stuff for the most part. And like that, to me, that kind of takes the spectacle out of these big crowd scenes, thinking that, oh, maybe that was just a few people and the computer just kind of filled in the rest, and they really didn't have that many costumes, and it's really not as majestic. So
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Again, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's again, I don't make movies, right? I just watch it, and like I'm there for the story,
Yes.
and I'm also like an anime guy. So like
Mhm.
I go see a bunch of anime films,
Yes.
and like, but I can appreciate a Miyazaki film because a
Sure.
lot of it is hand drawn, and especially the
Yes.
old stuff. You're like,
Yes.
holy shit! Like, Spirited Away, North
Yes.
Cavalli in. Like, I'm like, how much fucking time did these people spend drawing
Yeah.
cell
And
on
and that's where, like, you really have an appreciation, particularly for, like, hand-drawn animation, where they'll get, like, secondary motion, like, I we were just watching Wallace and Gromit, like, last couple of days, with claymation, and there's, like, the penguin who's the villain, and he puts this five-fingered glove on his head to masquerade as, like, a rooster or something, and, he flips it on his head, and you see like the fingers doing like second, like that had to be animated or claymated. Like they had to go in and move all the little individual pieces, and then later on, like there's a getaway where all the gnomes in the car have all these different feet, and so there's a car going down the street, but no wheels. There's just a whole bunch of different feet, and you're like, each one of those things had to be animated. Like going back to all those extras needed a costume. When you see like a whole bunch of effort that's put into the production of a thing, you have a respect for it. Just
No, I agree. I agree. And then it relates back to comics too. I mean, when somebody actually builds out a whole panel, and
Mhm.
like one of my favorite covers is the Muhammad Ali versus Superman cover.
Okay.
Neil Adams, all those people in
Yeah.
that stand had to be drawn.
Yes.
And I mean, not to get onto the controversial topic of AI,
Right.
which is a whole complicated thing, but even now, I mean, people don't want to do all those details in a lot of comics. They don't want to
No.
put all that effort. They don't want to draw all
Yes.
this stuff. I mean, I was just editing something before you came on, my interview with Adam Rich, and I was cutting it up, and he
Okay.
has the record for the most GI Joe characters on a single cover.
Nice.
He's awesome. I love Adam, and I love GI
Okay.
Joe. I'm a kid from the '80s who was born in the '90s.
Neat.
But like nobody wants to draw legitly like 127 GI Joe characters on a comic book, and I mean,
That is a whole bunch.
it's a lot. It's a lot of work. I get
That's
it.
a lot.
So like that's like, but there's an appreciation when you go back and you look at comics from like the '70s, '80s, '90s when
Well,
people put in
in
those.
any time before, computers and AI took over, and you just have to look at something and go, someone actually drew that. That's where you're like, oh wow, like when they're drawing Captain America and they draw like every little like scale in his, like armor, and like every single scale. It's a lot of ink.
I mean, the scene in Civil War when Captain America punches Iron Man and he
Yeah.
breaks his helmet. I mean, it's one of the most iconic scenes in comics where
Mhm.
taking and you see Iron Man's like face just crack.
Yeah.
It's an awesome shot, but like people forget that all had to be drawn. It's wild, but I digress. But this is a far cry from Palace. I do want to get back to Palace though, because
Okay.
this is a far cry from it. Because
All
but
right.
what I find interesting, this is where I think this is fascinating too with you, is
Mhm.
that you relaunched issue 1.
I did.
And so what is that like? Because I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant to take an already existing product,
Right.
relaunch it with new covers, reintroduce it to a bunch of people, because let's be realistic on this, is that people forget that books exist and they
Yes.
need to be refreshed on. And what is that like? Because I think it's brilliant, and I think more people should do it.
Well, thank you. I'm pleasantly surprised with how well the Kickstarter is doing, but I got a direct deal to sell my comics to Diamond. Previously, I've tried to go through other people. I had White Lily distributed by Red 5, which is this tiny little company. And then I approached Antarctic Press and was turned down for Guinevere. They said I was too controversial. So then ultimately I just ended up going direct to Diamond, and I picked that up, like I said, like a year ago. And so I had already done, like Guinevere was already a done series. It was already, out through Kickstarter. But comic stores had never officially seen it. It hadn't been distributed there. So I'm like, all right, let me do this distribution through Diamond for Guinevere. And I started to go, okay, so what are the challenges? Well, one, the quantity of books that Diamond and comic stores are going to make is going to exceed the number of copies you're going to sell on Kickstarter. Kickstarter, if you get 300, 400 backers, that's a fair amount. You did a pretty healthy Kickstarter, Whereas in Diamond, you're going to expect to see, comic book totals over 1,000, over 2,000, like it's an order of magnitude more than is, like a Kickstarter campaign by and large. So you're going to need to go to offset printing. And now that you're going to offset printing, your price per unit has come down, but the amount of units has gone up. And so that basically is offering a new Kickstarter where you can sell off your excess copies, and now, and unlike previous Kickstarters where your printing cost was higher because you weren't doing offset, now your printing cost is lower because you are doing offset. So
also, isn't it that the book's done too, which also lowers the
yes,
cost?
and the book's already done. I'm able to go, I've
Your
already
unit
fulfilled,
I mean, your unit cost, this is something, correct me if I'm wrong,
right.
is that I don't know exactly the formula how to calculate unit cost, but your
Okay.
unit cost is how much page covers. My understanding on the economics of this, and if I'm wrong on any of this, tell me to be quiet or correct me.
Yeah, no problem.
It's the cost of how much your book costs on art, how much your covers, lettering, all that stuff basically to produce it, and then printing it is what it is. And then you should have an idea that if you do 4 covers, potentially cover A, B, C, and D should all have a different unit cost. And how you calculate that, I have no idea, but it's a math equation, for lack of a better word here.
Sure.
But once you print your book and then you relaunch issue 1,
right.
You don't have to reprint those pages or pay for those pages. You're just covering maybe some covers, maybe corrections, maybe an updated 2 or 3 pages in the back of like cover gallery, maybe, or extra, or something cool in there, or maybe you're throwing like a sample little script thing in there, whatever you want, or a preview or whatever. But or maybe you have a new, cool back piece in there of something, but the cost is significantly less because to produce the item, you're not trying to get that 6,000 to 8,000 you need for your art.
Right. Yeah, because the arts got paid for last Kickstarter. So I've got on Palace right now. Last time I checked, I had like 110 backers, which is a modest number considering like what my campaigns usually do. But this is a relaunch. A lot of people already have Palace. But I was really happy with like the backer average because it's like 110 backers for like $4,500. So, the backer average is like above $35 a backer. And these are for books that, I'm having to mass print that you can go buy from your comic book store. So I can't do what I normally do, which is charge a big premium for a limited edition run that I'm working out with, me and my Ready Comics or Comics Wellspring kind of deal. So I think it's excited. And, at that level, $4,500, particularly given that the art was already paid for on prior campaigns, now my printing cost is already paid for, So I'm kind of distributing to comic stores against my print cost was already paid for. So it's money. Yay. So I'm really happy to finally I feel like I'm kind of, I've climbed the peak of this indie publishing hill, and now I'm got this stuff figured out.
It's interesting, right? Because it works in your circumstance where you have the ability to do that because you have to offset print. And then this covers a piece of that, and it also gets rid of merchandise.
Yeah.
And so it's unique in that regard. But also, I mean, it's cool to the point where you're also not, you can just get a book for $12. and
Yes.
physical printing, which is also helpful because I don't know how you feel, but I've been seeing this, and I don't know how many campaigns you back, but I backed campaigns for $25, and I thought the book was worth like $5, where it was horrific. And then I backed campaigns where I paid 20 and I got a $20 book. But like for $12, I'm more interested, right? Because I feel like
Sure.
I try something and there's
Well,
less pressure.
these are the same items that you can get from the comic book store. And the thing, the comic book store, they're getting it through a distributor, so they don't really have to pay shipping costs or as much as it's the shipping cost is kind of low because it's one shipment with all the different books in it that they place an order with from their distributor. But when it comes to me, if you order from me, I have to send you the book, and that's going to be $5, right? Like, if you want like a flash mailer and postage, that's $5. And the comic book that you would buy, I mean, the list price is $5, which, by the way, like, it's always freaked me out as a comic creator, particularly looking around at comic conventions. Like, if you go in and you want to buy a print of, like Sexy Catwoman or something, like as tends to get sold at a lot of comic shows, there's an expectation that that print is going to be $20. But the print cost of that print is like $1. Whereas the print cost of a 24-page comic book is more than a print. But people expect to pay $20 for a print and $5 for a comic book. So it's really tough to make that economics work against that price model, which, is handed down from what Marvel and DC are charging in comic stores. You can't really exceed that by too much. So that's where it gets tough, But using like Kickstarter to help with launches is a big benefit. So I'm very thankful to Kickstarter. They've been great to me. They've made this whole thing possible. If anything, my main endeavor is to take these wonderful comics that Kickstarter has allowed me to make and share them with a broader audience through the local comic book store, including Palace of the Golden Princess, which explores some of the fantasy and some fetish elements of what if the women were in charge.
So let me ask you this, because this
Mhm.
is business in certain ways, is that I feel that as a creator, if you're creating your own book, you need to be on Kickstarter, and then you need to try to, obviously you need to be at cons. You
Yes.
also might need to be on eBay to some degree. So I
Yes.
think you have to be there too, or Facebook, or some equivalent. And then I also think you maybe have to be in local comic stores, because there's people who only buy books from their local comic shop. There's
Yes.
people who only buy books on eBay. I have clients who will buy a book in a online store, but they would rather buy it from me on eBay because they
Okay.
feel comfortable. It's weird. It's like, and I'm charging, $5 more, but they're like, I would rather buy from you because you're going to look at the book and make sure it's good quality.
But they're not going to be able to buy that book from you for less than they could buy it from their comic book store.
No. They have no problem buying
Right, I
it.
understand. I'm just going back to like the economics of my Kickstarter is,
So,
like what because you were saying like $12, and yeah, and $12 is like the comic you could get for $5.50 from the local comic store, but I got to ship it to you. But I throw in digital rewards. I throw in a free PDF and some digital wallpaper, and I hope that makes it up to you. Not to mention, as I say in my Kickstarter video, if you've got a relationship with a local comic book store, go and buy it from them. That's awesome. Good on you, man. But a lot of people don't, or don't live next to one, or live in another country, and I'll ship it to them.
no, because I find it interesting, because I think that obviously, you have to be all over the place. I don't think
Yes.
you can live anymore in a one tracked environment.
Yes.
You have to live in a multiple track environment.
Yes.
I think it's really, really fascinating. And I think that obviously people have to get creative, because margins suck in comics. They
Yes.
really do.
They're horrible.
So I think it's interesting, and I think it's smart.
And I mean, a lot of times, I'll give people my work. Like you, I give the PDF, and then but just if I'm with someone or someone's looking at my work and they like it, they're not sure, I'll just give it like, here, take the book, read it. And then later on when I follow up with them, it's like I'm amazed how many people will not actually read the work, because as a writer, like, or a creator, you hope you made the thing and you're putting it out there and you're doing your best to make it the best experience possible. And then you're like, hey, did you read the thing? Whatever. And it makes me feel bad for novelists, because these are comic books. Like, this White Lily trade paperback, that's the whole story right there. That's 164 pages. How long would it take you to read that? Like an hour, 2 hours? If this was a novel, that would be many hours, if not many days. And I don't know, if so many people just look at me with no sense of shame and just go, I don't read. And to those people, I'm like, well, the pictures are pretty. Buy it for the pretty pictures, maybe. But I don't read.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I at least think comic books are better for the I don't read audience, because they're pretty pictures. And if they don't read, they're not going to read a novel. Whereas maybe you can try and convince them to read a comic book, because how long does it really take to read a comic book? How many words are there really? Come on. But so many people these days are just, it's all digital, and they're watching videos, and they're watching YouTube, and
TikTok.
that is
Gotta get the TikTok in.
That's how they occupy their time. And you're competing with that, and YouTube and TikTok are free, and why should they pay money for something that they'd have to actually read? That's crazy, and that's heralding the death of comics. Let's hope we can turn that around a little bit.
Oh, I find it so fascinating. Again, I don't read as much as I should.
Mm-hmm.
I still read, but it's tough.
Awesome.
It's tough. It's really tough when you're busy. It's tough. I mean, it's hard, and I don't read as many comics as I want to. So I get the non-reading crowd. I get them. It's tough. It's tough. But again, it's the same thing when people don't listen to my show. It makes me cry. It's terrible. I'm like, it's free. You should listen. You might get smarter. But anyway. But I do want to talk about the covers, because
sure. Go ahead.
Cool. So you got this.
Scott Harbin. Boy, Scott Harbin, I am very happy to have be the only source of Scott Harbin in the comic world, because he came out of the world of movies. If you research Scott Harbin, he did a lot of movie posters. And that's kind of what we started talking, because I make movies, and he did stuff for Punisher and all kind. And he's good friends with Thomas Jane, because they worked on Punisher, and Thomas Jane was in Punisher, but Thomas Jane was in the movie I just produced. And Thomas Jane has a big passion for comic books, so it kind of came full circle. So I talked to Thomas Jane about comic books, and then I'm like, Scott Harbin, who did, the movie poster for Punisher, and did the graphic design stuff for Punisher. He did that cover of Queen Arica for comic books. And right now on Kickstarter, that is the #1 selling cover. And he's up against Whiskey Paint, who is not well known outside of my Kickstarters, but he's a great artist. And Mike Crome, who does have quite a rep in comic books. And that's a cool image. A lot of people like that image for Mike Crome. But Scott Harbin, people are like, yes, I want that one. So, I'm happy that I'm introducing Scott Harbin to the world of comic books, and I hope that goes well for both of us, quite frankly.
And then we got this one.
Yeah. And then you got Whiskey Paint's cover. Is that in there somewhere? Yeah, there we go. So I encouraged him to kind of go in a new style. If you notice, it looks like an oil painting. And Whiskey Paint up till now had kind of done like, because he works digitally. So it'd been more like, crisp and precise, the way like digital tends to be. But I'm like, no, I want you to kind of like harken back to like the old paintings of those classic fantasy covers of Conan and Tarzan and stuff like that. And so, he came up with that picture, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's nice. And then what else? Obviously, I mean, and there's some other stuff in here too. I think you could add on a bunch of stuff as well into this.
Like right? What I don't understand the question.
Oh, no, 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 no. As far as rewards go, I mean, there's always add-ons. There's the performance.
Sure. I mean, here I'm working with, and again, this was a challenge for me I hadn't faced before. Uh, I'm working with, okay, here's going to be the runs that I'm offering to the comic book store. How can I tailor that so that I'm offering people those books and not encouraging them to order some other book that I have to also print extra copies of? So I didn't want to print a whole lot of extra copies of other things. So my Kickstarter offers metal covers of Scott Harbin's work and my Chrome work at $35 each, which is not a big premium as far as metal covers go. But those are the only extra comic books I'm printing, and that's my Kickstarter exclusive. You can get a metal cover comic version of, Scott Harbin's work or Mike Chrome work and $35. That's a good deal. You should go grab that. I also tried to make it so that like every tier was value maximizing. At $119, you get all 4 covers plus a folio, to hold your comic books in that has a nice metal cover for Palace, plus 2 metal covers for Scott Harbin and Mike Chrome, plus like 6 random comics from my back issue collection. And a lot of people feel that's a decent value. So that's part of why this campaign has maintained a high backer average, because there's a lot of backers at 119. So hooray.
Good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the name of the game, to have
Yes.
backers and have
But also as a comic producer, it's to move back issues. Like nothing I just really rattled off there in the $119 reward involves me printing up a bunch of stuff. If anything, I'm moving like 6 copies of my previous, I'm moving the work I previously did, clearing out old inventory. And that feels so good as a businessman. You're like, thank goodness.
I like
these comics are finding new homes.
I like clearing out inventory.
Yeah.
I have no problem taking a loss on inventory if it makes
exactly. Just move it out.
Makes
How long's this thing been here? Too long. Move it.
Again. There's plenty of books that I wish I got more money for, but then I just put them out, and then I'm moving out like 30, 40 of them, and guess what? Now I have room in my short box for new merchandise. And that's
what's been your big seller over the last couple of years?
Oh, the big stuff that's been selling lately. Is just like some Marvel stuff from like 2014 has moved nicely.
Okay. Lately. All right.
So I mean,
is that like movie tie-in or something, or?
Some of it is a little bit, but also a lot of just blank covers are moving right now for me.
Really? Sketch covers?
Yeah, sketch covers. Like I bought them for like $4 or $5, and they're like going for like 20, 25. So
I got like 50 White Lily #2 sketch covers, and I don't do much in sketch covers. You want them?
Maybe.
Okay.
I have to think about it.
All right. Fair enough.
Right now, what's moving nicely is like people want like a Batman sketch cover. So like New 52 Batman.
But don't they want something on the cover? Don't they want like an artist to render it?
What they want is that they want it so they could bring it to an artist.
Right.
So they just can't.
I mean, like to me, that's like the big desire is to have a cool artist draw something cool on your sketch cover.
So those are good money too. But what's going on and what my clients want is that they're going to a con, right?
Yes.
So they need a particular book because they want, like we'll use Elias Shahzudis as a good example. So they want Elias to draw something on a Van Helsing cover.
Yes.
But that book's out of print.
Yes.
So they want Van Helsing #1, but that's why they want to spend $20, $25 on a $5 book.
Right.
Because they need a particular thing because they want that cool cover. And then what happens is that there's so I have a blank WWE sketch cover, right? Mm-hmm. So that book by Boom has been out of print for legitly, I think, like 6 or 7 years. And then somebody says, cool, I want to get an artist to do this wrestler. And then I'm going to have the wrestler sign the cover and get it graded. So it's kind of a crazy circumstance where like they want to do the sketch themselves, or they want an artist. They want to get the sketch themselves with an artist they like, but they just need the book. So like I'm making like a 5X, but they move like hotcakes when I sell them.
Wow.
But they only move like from February to about August
Okay, because
because that's con season.
yeah, I tried sketch covers briefly, but because I'm a comic creator, not a comic artist, like that, I couldn't really ever connect with an audience over sketch cover. That's why I've shifted towards. I have these different artists who do these different cool covers, and they're all pretty, and you should get them.
So
Sketch covers.
I'm a
Yeah,
seller.
yeah,
That's why. In which that I just found a product that
hmm
was cheap, that
yes,
was just easy to move, that I knew people were going to eventually want, right? But I'm not looking to get rich off. It's not like I'm buying a book for $5 and I'm expecting it to be
mhm,
14,000.
yeah,
I'm looking to get a book for $5 and sell it for like 25.
yeah.
But when you're doing that
That's
10
that.
times,
That's a fairly healthy profit margin.
yeah. I mean, eBay
Good
takes,
on you, Andrew.
but like I'm like 10 bucks in profit on it. And
Sure.
plus I get my 5 back and then I redeploy my 5, take out the 10 and enjoy a stock or a
Yes.
beer, whichever comes first. Um, but like that's the whole thing. So, but like I find this whole thing interesting. Again, I have a business that works for me. My
Yes.
business is not what everybody else should do.
Hmm.
I can't tell anybody how to run their business. I find it abnormalities that work for me.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I got some White Lily #2 sketch covers if you need some, because sketch covers are not something I really work with much.
Again, it depends on just your clientele.
Well,
Um,
yeah, the problem is like, you know, Elias Chazoudis never did anything for White Lily. So you're probably not going to want to take a White Lily sketch cover to him. You probably want Zenescope. So,
yeah, no, but everything is also price. Everything is also price.
okay.
So like there are sketch covers that go for really good money.
Okay.
Like I sold a sketch cover for like $90
It was blank.
blank.
Blank
So
sketch cover. Okay.
so like I sold my WWE one of my WWE sketch covers for 50
Right.
bucks.
Wow.
I bought it for 7.
Yeah.
Like, but that's because it's an impossible book to find.
Hmm.
And that's why people want them because they want their favorite wrestler drawn on it
Right.
by an artist they like. And there you go. And that's what happens. But I digress. That's enough for me. Everybody, if you want my time, you can pay for it.
Okay. Fair
Um,
enough.
no, I'm happy to talk for free about this because this is a topic I like talking about.
Cool.
But again, I don't understand the full economics of Kickstarter beyond. I ran one and it was hell.
Okay.
It was not a good experience.
Why did you have a bad experience with Kickstarter?
You know what is people were not receptive to what I was trying to do.
That happens.
And it wasn't a comic. I was trying to fund my podcast and
That's
people,
tough because what are you going to get people? Like what fills the reward tiers when you're trying to fund a
a lot of it
podcast?
was advertising.
Okay.
So it was like $5 a live read.
Oh, there you go.
So, but
I
like,
mean, that would have applied great to me, but most, like the mass audience out there doesn't need advertising or live reads. So you're kind of going to a special audience who needs that stuff.
but also like people weren't like getting it, saying, "Wait a second, like you're asking for like $500. It's not a huge reward." And
Right.
it was just like, cool. I'm trying to do something, and people were just nasty about it. It's like,
Yeah.
and what I didn't get is that you guys are all doing the same thing. It's just a different product, but it's adjacent to your product. And so like it rubbed me the wrong way. And it still rubs me the wrong way because I'm like, people continuously, and I don't know if you get these messages, I get these messages probably once a week. 3 to 5 people say, "Oh, I'm doing my Kickstarter. Could you give me money? Can you back my campaign?" And I'm like,
I don't get those messages very routinely. So
I get those messages like once or twice a week now, and it's annoying. And
what I do get, because I do my best to promote my Kickstarter and Facebook. Oh my goodness. You share it on Facebook, and all these different people are, this Kickstarter looks really interesting. Can we schedule a call to discuss? Like, stop. I'm not going to pay you money. Stop.
I get those too. I get those
Yeah.
too. And I'm like, I'm not interested. They're like, why are you not interested? And then I send them a link to my eBay store. That's what I do. I legitly buy and sell comics. Like I'm not interested in doing this at the moment. And if I was, you're not the person I'm calling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a fortunate position where I know enough people who can help me, who can actually help me, including you.
Yeah.
I mean, other people are not in that position. So, but it's whatever. But again, I don't really need anybody's money, to be honest. I can do this without everybody's money. Yeah, but I'll take your money if you want to give it to me.
Well, I did enjoy sponsoring your show for last year, so I want to keep that going. I feel like I liked.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like sponsoring your show. I think it was funny that maybe some people who got crossways with me came on the show and are like, "Ah, guy." Like,
there were a lot of people, and I just said I don't really care. I don't really care.
It's funny that I trigger people anyway.
No, but that's just it, though. See,
yeah.
I don't have to. Like, I'll be honest, and I know this. I don't have to answer anymore to people I don't want to answer to.
Right.
I don't. It's so interesting when you don't have to answer to people because this to me, I don't make any money from my podcast.
Right.
So I don't have to do an interview if I don't want to do it. And guess what? Some of the people that I've interviewed, I mean, I pissed off a lot of people. I interviewed Savannah Fox. I love Savannah Fox.
All right.
Savannah Fox is a porn star. I've interviewed Stephanie.
I don't.
So
wasn't she like kind of in music or something, or was that somebody else?
No, that's probably somebody else.
Okay, because I remember there was like a really chesty woman who was in
Bella
music.
Madison?
I guess.
I love Bella. I love Bella.
Okay,
she's great. She's great. She.
All right. What did Samantha Fox have to say?
So Savannah Fox, no, it's just like she upsets people. I mean, I interviewed Robin Coffins and Serena Havoc, and Robin Coffins is a woman and her wife is transgender, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of people saw that and were like, "What the fuck?"
Sure.
Like, I'm sure of it, but guess what? You're not paying for my show. You're not sponsoring my show. And somebody tried to do that. And I said, no, I'm not interested in having your business. I turned down a sponsor because I didn't like the fact that they wanted to A, lowball me, and B, they wanted to control aspects of my show. And that's not how it works.
Right.
And that's how it doesn't work with a sponsor. If I have a sponsor and a guest doesn't like that, I'm sorry. That's your problem. It's not my problem. It's not my sponsor's problem. It's your problem. And that's how I feel. And I'm very open about it. And if you don't want to do my show because you have a problem that when you were a sponsor of my show, well, I'll find somebody who doesn't have a problem.
Awesome. There you go. I'm happy to sponsor your show for another year. Let me know how much.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Awesome. Also, the 76ers won, but they made me nervous throughout this whole interview.
Okay, so money. There we go. Fantastic.
$70. Not bad. I mean, I just put like $300 on the game, but that's not the point here. So
okay, so you wagered 300 to win 70.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a bad return.
I mean, I don't. When you're talking about return, now you have to go. Okay, well. What were the because if the 76ers didn't win, you were out $300, right?
That is true.
So,
but I'm very good.
It was a disproportionate wager. If you lost, you lost 300. If you won, you won 70.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
But also the Washington Wizards suck. So it was a safer bet than. But also, I mean, I wagered a lot of money late. So, but that's neither here nor there. This is a whole different ball game. It's not like I put money You know, I'll give an example, right?
All right.
So I put money when the Celtics last night were like a plus 105.
Okay.
Now it's like $5 on there. So I didn't make a lot of money last night on the Celtics,
Right.
but I made like $11. So that was a disproportional bet in my favor.
You wagered how much?
$5 and I made about 11.
Okay. There you go.
So,
That sounds great.
but my objective is not to lose the money. It's to win
Yes.
money. And then we take that money and then we buy stock. So tomorrow I'm going to buy like 5 shares of a company that'll pay me a dividend.
Hold on.
I just lost Preston. I don't know what happened.
No, I'm right here. Someone's walking across the room. I didn't want her on camera. So there we go.
But that's neither here nor there. But I do want to ask you something else that's not related to Palace or your comic stuff.
Sure.
And I'm curious where you think comics are going, because we are at the start of 2025.
Yes.
Obviously, I think comics are in a weird place right now.
Yes, they are.
And I am licking wounds from comics from the last 3 months. That has changed my position. But then there's been other people who have been very much have helped stitch me up a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm curious where you think it's going, because I think they're in a weird place from a selling point, from a collector point, from even a publishing point, from quality, the whole shebang. And I'm curious because I'm looking in and I'm looking as a seller and as a reader, and I am not looking as a producer.
I think comic books remain in decline. I don't know what the readership or circulation numbers are. I don't really follow that. But I feel like it's kind of an insular community of people who are very interested in a select number of characters whose legacy goes back many decades. And I'm going to say whose stories have gotten kind of stale, which is inevitable if you're telling a story about the same character for decades, right? Those stories are going to get stale, like after a while, it's like, how much can Wolverine really do? Not to mention Batman and Superman and all these other folks. But that's what comic book readers so often like. And in that insular community that goes to comic book stores, that's what they want to step in and buy. And okay, but that can only go on for so long. And that's why we've seen, comic book stores, I think, going out of business.
So let me ask this, because I have a friend. He whines and he bitches about his comic store in Maryland.
Okay.
And I can't take it anymore. It's like I'm like literally 4 or 5 more whines and I'm just going to defriend him.
Yeah.
In which he's always bitching about how like people are stealing from his store and a bunch of other stuff, and how it's tough and how people aren't paying his live show bills. I can't take it, right? And the reason why I can't
is he running a comic store, or is he
bought one or built?
He bought one. All right, so then he is running one.
Yes, he's running one and he's the owner. And my point about comic stores is that I think it's hard to be just a comic store.
Yes.
Right? I think it's really hard to just be that.
Absolutely.
And I've shifted up my business.
And I want to say one of the best places that I know of is my local comic store, Titan Comics. And really, they're just a comic store. Like, you go in there, they got a whole bunch of comics and like some statues, but of comic characters, Batman, Superman, that kind of stuff, and some prints, and that's it. Like most other stores, you can get your Magic the Gathering or your sports cards or whatever.
I like this store called Comics. They're in Illinois, Harrison, New York. Mark is great. A lot of cool stuff that they've done. And what is that they have their own brand. So they've done little Marvels and they've done little DC as a company. So it's Art Belzer, Franco, Mark. I think Spider-Man writer, Mark
Wade.
Yeah, Mark Wade. I think is also a part owner now.
Oh, neat. Good.
But they also put a lot of effort into trying to get children into their store.
Yes.
So a lot of kids comics because they're smart And then they also have done, they're huge wrestling fans, so they've done stuff with like Kazarian and Chris Daniels and the Young Bucks. So like pretty cool company, right?
Yeah.
But they carry Pop Funkos, they carry a little bit of manga, but they're not doing Magic the Gathering.
Right.
So I think they're more in the vein of comics, but they also carry a lot of graphic novels too.
Mhm.
And then they do some Pop Funko stuff, but they also carry a lot of kids comics and kid stories and comic adjacents, right? But what I think, and I'm curious how you feel about this, is that, and I'm part of the problem, is that I just bought a book today from KRS. It was a Mark Spears Monsters #3 Charles variant, and sold out in 5 minutes, 450 copies.
All right.
5 minutes, 35 a piece. Bought 4 of them, and within an hour, I sold all 4 on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also part of the problem, where, you know, I mean, I made a clean after fees, a clean like $80 in profit on the book in an hour. And I think
Nice.
that's also part of the problem, is that there's nothing illegal that I did, but there's people who are not reading that book, but they just want the cover art. And
Yes.
that's part of the issue right now. And
That is part of the issue. And, you know, going back to, you know, people getting my stuff and like a lot of, like, they don't read, you know, it's hard when you're dealing with people who don't want to read. And sadly, most of the people that I know of who are reading a lot of stories tend to talk more about manga. I can't fix all the problems. All I can do is my part to contribute good original stories with fantastic artwork, such as Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily, available at your local comic stores. So, you know, like I'm, as we say in Starship Troopers, I'm doing my part. You know, whatever people want to go to the store and buy, and whatever the store wants to sell, those are things beyond my control. I get the general sense that still, you know, we're struggling over kind of a decreasing readership in comics, but Kickstarter's opening up new avenues, and hooray.
I mean, I have a theory. I'll run a theory by you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think the boom of comics is related to a United States bull run and a US movie comic run.
Okay.
So I think for the last 14 years, the US, you know, prior to 2020, was on a bull run, and a massive bull run.
Sure.
2008 to pretty much to about 2020,
Yes.
12 years, we were on a huge bull run, give or take, right?
Yes.
And comics were on fire. The
Yes.
amount of books that I was slinging in the last like 2.5 years before 2020 was wild.
Yes.
Moving stuff, and obviously I'm better infrastructure now, and I'm making more money now than I was.
I mean,
that.
yeah, I mean, people, like, money was easy and flowing. People were bidding up cryptocurrencies, and what are those good for? Except gambling, you know, like they're just, you just hope someone else is going, like Fartcoin, right? Like we were talking about this before the show. It went from if you got it in October and just held it up to recently, it beat the entire stock market performance since like 1870 or something crazy like that.
Bitcoin since like 8K.
Yeah.
So
I like, you know, you just buy it hoping that it's gonna go up.
But it is.
Yeah.
I'm a believer. Bitcoin is the future. But you know,
the future of what? What do we use it for?
So I mean, we could have Bitcoin's property. It's property. It's awesome.
Okay. It's property, just like Fartcoin is, right? You just buy it hoping that someone else is going to buy it from you, and it's speculating on little tokens of nothing, and it just goes to show you how easy the money was since 2008.
But my theory is that
yes,
when we were on this bull run and all these movies coming out, it was just an easier market. And I think that's the other thing too, is that I think the market has become tougher. I also think the market has become diluted, right? So that's what I think, and that's why I think it's harder now. And I think you have to be way more careful. But I mean, look at my business on eBay. I'm selling more cards now than comics because they are easier and they retain value. But I digress. But
yes,
that's that. But That's my theory. But
What
people
kind of cards?
disagree.
Sports cards or Magic cards? Or
I saw a lot of football,
okay,
baseball, and NBA stuff, and I saw a lot of autograph cards.
okay,
So like, and I saw a lot of 1-on-1s and 5-of-5s.
yeah.
So
And
like I
like there are shows here in Dallas that are just sports card shows. And I've done a couple of, because it's a local show, it doesn't cost me anything. But sports card people, by and large, are not interested in comic books. And you want to talk about people who don't read? Those sports card people don't read. I
but
put all this time into crafting this story, and that's gorgeous artwork. I don't read. Okay, great.
but they know they might not read, but they know everything about what they're buying. It's crazy when you speak
Sure.
to people like this who know everything. So like I know everything about my 1-on-1 Angel Reese's,
Mhm.
right? Like I know everything. And that's what's crazy is that when you start speaking to people and then they're like, because I've witnessed somebody at a sports card show spend $10,000 in cash to buy a LeBron James card. And I'm like, dude. And guy, like the guy was saying, you're gonna hold it. I'm like, no, I don't want to touch it, man. Just no. And we all laugh, but like those people are insane on how much money they have. And that's how my business has grown. I am selling because it's easier to sell a sports card. And also, I could sell a sports card for $7 because I can buy them cheaper on wholesale than I could buy comics.
Sure.
Because Topps is willing to sell me wholesale, where I can buy a car for $4.50 and sell for $9 all day,
Neat.
and make like $1.50 pure profit, which includes shipping.
It sounds
So
like you're explaining to me that comics is in the decline. I feel like you just explained that to me.
Yeah. I mean,
You're like, I used to sell more comics. Now I sell more sports cards because, right? Okay.
yeah,
So you, as your own entrepreneur, used to sell more comics. Now you're going this other direction, selling to a market that doesn't really like comics.
it's also the idea that I think I made a mishap with the Bad Girl Art shit, and I think I went too deep into it, so I have to reallocate because
Yeah.
the Bad Girl market has fucked up, and
Yes, it has fucked up.
it's weak. Not
It is
everything in
weak.
the Bad Girl market is bad. Like some good Zenoscope books, but Zenoscope isn't fetching what it used to fetch.
No, it is not. No.
Now,
Yeah, as being very deep into the bad girl comic book market, I can tell you, yeah, that's gotten soft here in the last few years.
it's an issue, and it's rough, right?
Yeah,
And I have a lot of Bad Girl art books, and I'm trying to exit out of them. And look, some of the stuff I'm doing okay with, like
yeah,
some Mount Olympus Resident Evil stuff still holds value, and I'm
right.
not done completely. But also the stuff that holds value is like limited 15s, right?
Yeah,
But like they're hard to sell, and it takes the right buyer, and it's so fucking painful. And
yes,
this is why, I'm also saying, look, I'm playing in a safer space right now with
sure.
small cards, but I will come back. I don't think comics are dead. I just think it's right now a rough environment, and I'm over allocated in a sector, and I'm slowly moving a ship out, but I have to be cautious because I'm on a wire, because
Yeah,
I have legitly 300 to 400 books that are super soft right now.
yeah,
And I'm legitly willing to take what I paid for them, and if somebody would cover the shipping, I'll
yeah,
sell at a loss if somebody covers the shipping and people don't even want to touch the books.
yeah,
It
yes.
and I don't think I fucked up. I just think the market took a
The
hard.
market has declined. Yeah.
But then you get a 601 Spider-Man. That book's solid. A Fallout #4 book's
Mhm.
solid all day. So
Okay.
good books are going to remain good. So
Yes.
Fallout 4, for those who don't know, is Miles Morales' first appearance.
Okay.
601 is one of the most iconic J. Scott Campbell covers of all time, where Spider-Man's leaving the apartment he's with Mary Jane out the window. So that book's always good. A Saga 1 is always solid.
Hmm.
A Canto 1 it is a solid book. So like there's books that are solid, but then I'll be open, like Mount Olympus. It's just those books just aren't moving.
Yeah.
They're just not moving. It sucks. Like Power Hour, it's just not moving. and I'm willing like I sold the Power Hour book for $18. It cost me 25.
Mm.
So it's like it's painful. It's really, really painful right now. Is this environment, but there's nothing I can do. But it's tough. But enough about that. I don't want to end negative. The 76ers won. I made money. I'm happy.
Awesome.
I'm gonna buy stock. My significant other, she won't be angry with me. But you can't be angry with me because it's my birthday Friday. So she really can't yell at me for the week. That's
Exactly.
her gift to me is that I can't be yelled at.
Well, when it comes to all right, so you've read Palace, you sell Bad Girl comics. Is Palace just another Bad Girl comic in your opinion, or is it different?
So it's tricky, right? Because we'll go through this on a cover basis,
All
right?
right, sure.
So this to me is not a Bad Girl cover,
No,
right?
it's not. Yeah,
This is a little bit more of a Bad Girl cover, but it's more of a Zenoscope, right?
sure.
To be honest, I call it in the Zenoscope brain where it's sexy, but it's kind of like a Grim Fairy Tales,
Right.
cover where I get the point.
Yeah.
This is pop up art, right? It's a pop up art cover to me,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. And then this is we're getting a little bit more into the Bad Girl stuff, a little bit of the
Hmm.
horror stuff. This is the most Bad Girl cover that you have in it now. And then this is obviously that too. Just
Yeah,
it's the same
it's
cover.
got the foil lettering and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them's a virgin
Yeah.
versus. Is that a virgin or is it?
Yes, the those are virgin metals. So yeah, you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that in metal. Yeah.
Again. Sometimes things slip my mind. So, but like, there's some stuff in Palace that is Bad Girl cover art. But then we
Yes.
look at Palace, and wouldn't say it's a Bad Girl book, right? Because
Hmm.
Bad Girl art to me is covers, and it's only covers, right?
Sure.
Like that's part of the
I mean,
issue.
that's the thing that all right.
Your
Having
book is an adult book.
sure.
There's a difference, right?
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. Saga is an adult book,
Okay.
right? So I mean, have you read Saga?
I have not read Saga. Tell me
Oh,
about it.
it's great. It's great. Just I don't want to ruin for you. You're
Okay.
lucky
Fair enough.
you get to experience it for the first time. It's an adult picture book type of
Okay.
book. It's
All right.
beautiful. It's written amazing. Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples, unbelievable.
Is it a limited series or is it like an ongoing 1 to 100 kind of thing?
There's I think there's gonna be 108 of them. I think they're on
Okay.
like 78.
Okay.
It's easily you could get it. It's on Comixology, right?
Okay. Sure.
It's solid. It's solid, but like it's beautifully illustrated, but it's an adult comic, right?
Okay.
It's an adult picture book comic type book. But so like your book's an adult book. I don't know if it's a Bad Girl art book. Like I'm trying to think of a Bad Girl art that like I can't think
Well,
of.
like Lady Death. What do you consider Lady Death?
That's tricky because I've only read like one or two Lady Deaths, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a problem with Brian. I don't have a problem with Lady Death.
Sure. Okay. Grimm's Fairy Tales.
No,
What do you consider that?
Grim Fairy Tales, I consider that like PG-13.
Okay. But is that Bad Girl in your classification?
Yeah, I don't think it's Bad Girl.
Okay.
I mean,
Robin Hood. ROBYN.
I don't consider it to be Bad Girl because
Okay.
it's PG-13, maybe 16
Okay.
older. But like, I'll give you an example. Max DeVille's book, Ninja Bimbos,
Oh,
right?
never heard of it. Okay, sure.
That's a Bad Girl art book, right?
Okay.
That's a Bad Girl art book. I'm trying to think of shoot, I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head. Shoot, Asylum Press, right?
Yes.
They do some of their books are Bad Girl. Now, Mike Tiener, right? He has a bunch of books that are just straight out Bad Girl stuff. And then you get stuff like Cheeky from Pat Chan, which is adult, but it's not Bad Girl, right?
Mhm.
Like, but it's adult, right? It's obviously a sexual book.
Yes.
Amori is a sexual book. Nippy is a sexual book. But it's not Bad Girl, right? Because Bad Girl is the idea of taking what Pat Chan did, going down a rung, but going it up from because adult is here, Bad Girl's here. It has adult themes, but it's not sexual, where you're not going to have a sexual premise in a bad girl art book where you're not going to have two people fucking each other.
Right.
Like that's not the point. The point is that you might have nudity, but you're not going to have that. Like Gun Honey is a bad girl book.
Okay.
Because you have sexy characters carrying guns with sexual overtones and a bunch of other shit going on, and that's what it is, right? But there's not much nudity in Gun Honey. I don't think there's any nudity in Gun Honey, but it's a bad girl.
Okay.
Like I mean, that's how I describe it. So Lady Death is tricky because, again, the two that I've read, it's adult,
yes,
but not bad girl. Like I don't consider Lady Death bad girl.
Okay.
And I'll tell Brian that I don't think your book's bad girl, man. I don't. I have no problem stating that.
All right.
But anyway, enough about that. I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself.
And that's all right. I mean, I'm here for an interview, and we have mentioned Palace. It's a fantasy society where the women are in charge. It's based on a 1981 Dungeons and Dragons adventure that got destroyed by its own publisher because it was so scandalous. And of all things, during COVID, I was running D&D games for Doug Tenaple and his kid, and I had an old download of Palace of the Silver Princess that I'm like, here, I'll run you through this. And then I read it, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is like femdommy. The women are in charge. And then I see why this got destroyed. I'm like, you know, I could probably do a version of this and do it pretty well. So I go to a lot of, old school role-playing cons, and it seemed like a good market for them, and they like it. So I made the book. If you like D&D and you like sexy ladies, particularly if you like women in charge kind of stuff, then it's for you. There you go. And there's a D&D adventure I wrote that you can get with the Kickstarter campaign. Go back it.
Awesome. And then obviously where can people find you? Because you have that going on, and you got Pocket Jack Comics.
Yeah.
There.
Making movies.
Where can people find that stuff? Where can people go?
Pocket Jack's Comics. I mean, look, I don't distribute the movies. I'm there. I fund the movies. I help make them. I was out on set with my daughter and my girlfriend, and we were all. This is like my daughter's first job out of college. She was like assistant script supervisor, so she learned a skill, and we shot out there in Prescott, Arizona, and a bit in Monument Valley for practically the whole month of November. But I don't make the decisions about where that movie is going to get distributed. I certainly give my advice, and I hope I get listened to. But other people make those calls. But when it comes to comic books, that's my bailiwick, and that's what I'm here to talk about, because I do make those decisions, and I think these are good products that I'm happy to provide to people, and I think they're pretty good, and I hope you read them, as opposed to like a lot of people when we talk about Spider-Man 601, it's the cover. It's not the story. It's the cover. And J. Scott Campbell. It's Mary Jane's doing this with her boobs. Oh, okay.
It's like my favorite cover. It's one of them. Okay. It's up there. It's that, and I think it's the one where Spider-Man by Marcos Martin, I want to say, holding Gwen in Spider-Man's arms on the red cover.
There you go.
Because that cover, I sold that cover, and then I sold my Superior Spider-Man, and it started my business.
Okay.
Of writing for my website, and then I bought those books back when I made money. Graded. So it's a full circle. Yeah. So those books are very special to me. But I get it. I get the cover thing, man, because I'm guilty of it. But like, it's personal books, man. We all have them, and we all have those stories. But yeah, no. But
well, yeah. I think I'm just now getting a feel for my comic book publishing business, now that I'm dealing with comic book stores, and I'm using Kickstarter, and I'm incorporating these in these larger campaigns, and now I'm looking, oh wow, I can make a profit at the end of this. Awesome. And it's and part of it is when you're going back to talking about the Kickstarter war, I'm not gouging people. like $12 to get a comic book, that's including shipping, and you get the digital rewards. This is a good deal.
It's not bad. Again, I've spent a lot of money to get a lot of dog shit books.
Yeah.
and I don't back many campaigns because after being burned a lot
Yes.
for not good quality books, good. I'm good. Like I could have take that money and I could have bought some better shit that I would have enjoyed, or I could have legitly bought a stock and got
Yes.
as much as enjoyment out of it. Like, I mean, I'm buying a stock tomorrow with my winnings and gambling. It's a $13 company, right?
What are you gonna get?
Company called Gain.
Okay. Good
Gain.
luck. Just so you know, I think like stocks are gonna have a rough period here.
Oh, I'm buying it for its dividend.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm a long-term investor.
Although I gotta say, I thought 2024 was gonna be down here. Turned out I was wrong. 2024 big up year. Hooray!
I'm very good at what I do, and I buy companies when they're dirt cheap. So I hope it goes to shit. I do.
Yeah.
It's because I have a lot of money that I want to deploy.
Good.
What was it? 2020, the market fell apart.
Briefly.
I mean, what was it? Like 56 days, I think? 56 days?
Yeah, 56 days. The market fell for 56 days. Okay. We're a long way from the Great Depression where the stock market crashed in 29 and went on for a decade, you know.
I watched my portfolio go down from a little above 100 at the time down to 59. And I had like 20K in free cash. And boy, did I swing that out. I'm like, yes.
By a dip. Yeah.
I bought, it wasn't a dip. It was an artificial suppression.
Okay. Well, it's a dip. It went down and came back up.
A dip to me is 5%. Your portfolio going down 30% is a gift from God.
Okay. You need to transition to being a stockbroker. I can imagine you on the phone. A portfolio going down 30% is a gift from God, my friend. Thank God my portfolio is down so much.
You need to.
You need to buy more.
I'm not letting you cash out. In fact, you have 20,000. I just made a trade for you. You'll thank me in 60 days.
Yeah.
I expect a beer on my porch. This is my address. So, like, no. I bought Texas Roadhouse. And for like $32 a share, and it's like around like 188, I think now. Like
nice, 6x.
I mean, yeah, it was good. And then I bought WWE and it was $9 a share. That became TKO, and that's doing good. Like I bought Apple at 43 a share. I mean, I kill it. And the best.
I don't know why you're messing around with comic books at all.
It's because I enjoy the action. And then I buy books, and then I take my profits and I buy stock. I convert the money into that, and it just further goes along with my regular day job. Like I figured out that I just want to make an extra 10,000 that I can then buy stock with because it just gets me to freedom faster.
Yes.
But I get made fun of for it. And I'm like, okay, everybody could laugh. When I don't have to worry about money, which I want to never ever worry about money in my life, and I want to have so much money that I don't need to worry about it. We'll see who's laughing, because I would like the DWI.
I'm happy to be a part of your success, Andrew.
I'm just happy.
For that matter, you know what? This is obviously a conversation we should have off the air, but I've produced 2 movies now, and I can show you that I'm making money in producing movies, and now I'm getting all these scripts. You know, you start making movies and all these writers bury you in scripts. So we're going to be making more movies, and we need more investors, and it sounds like you're someone I should talk to. Well, they're like stocks, but way more entertaining.
And they entertain people.
They entertain people, and they have very long tails on them. You know, like that movie I made back in 2018, Standoff at Sparrow Creek. The distribution is about to expire. We're going to resell it, so you get another payday. You know, like you keep getting paydays
like
on movies.
Yeah, it's like an option, right?
It is. So,
it's exactly like an option. But I'm going to promote myself here.
Go ahead.
Obviously, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on the YouTube, Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I do run a little eBay business right here. You know, look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay. at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And some of the stuff that I carry in my store is this right here. I also carry some of these in my store.
So what was that? John Cena. What is that?
That's
Is
a
that
Leaf Metal anime card.
an anime card?
So Leaf Metal, for those who are interested, did a whole series of
Okay.
athletes in an anime style. And I saw
Okay.
the John Cena, and I bought, I think, like 20 of them. And it only
Okay.
had a print run of 200, so it's print to order, but
Yeah.
199 of them were printed. And I have number 2 on that one, which
Neat.
is awesome. So the numbers are random, so they're all like serialized in the back.
Yeah.
But there's only 199 of them, and I'm selling anything for like $32 in my eBay store. So,
Yes.
I bought it wholesale for like 15. So, I'm thrilled to pass on savings. I'm making a little bit of money. People are happy, and it's an awesome card. And at some point, I'm hoping to get it signed and graded by him.
Okay.
So that I carry that stuff. I also carry stuff like this, which is Angel Reese.
I'm amazed that WNBA sports cards are a market that you're supporting. I mean, there must be people buying it then, right?
This card trades for 180
Wow. Okay.
on a $25 position.
What does that mean?
So it cost me $25.
Okay.
25, $30, $180. It's crazy. This, on
Yes.
the other hand, I have no idea what the value on this is because it's a 101.
What does that mean?
There's only one of those in the world.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And I
one
have
of one. Got it. Okay.
so they sell like crazy. The Caitlin Clark's, her base rookie card, her first one, is like $120 card that cost $4 when it came out.
Who even watches the WNBA?
It's wild. It's wild.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't be buying this stuff if there wasn't money involved.
No, I got it. Yeah.
I'm sorry that I want to make money. I
No,
enjoy it.
I want you to make money. I'm amazed at where the trends lead.
Because let me explain how this
All right.
happened, right? So
Okay.
it clicked in my head. I'm eating my lunch break from my job because I work 4 days from home and
Yes.
1 day in the office. I'm watching Pat McAfee after the championship game, and Pat McAfee was there with a bunch of guys on the Pat McAfee show, and they were talking about that game in college as if it was just a regular sport. And I'm like, this is the game shift. And then I just started buying all this stuff because I got it immediately that things have now changed.
Okay.
Because the second a bunch of men who are really manly men on
Yes.
ESPN are treating this like an equal, I'm like, I'm all in. And I
Okay.
wasn't wrong. Where it shifted because the viewers were up. 19 million people watched that game versus the Mets.
hmm
17 million people watched the NCAA like final 16 or 64 championship final game, whatever that is. More people watch the women. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon, and the WNBA is becoming institutionalized, and these are the first instrumental years that are going to matter where all that stuff is going to be worth money. And so why wouldn't I take advantage of it? And I do watch the WNBA. So, but it's research, and I could gamble on it. So it fits all my boxes.
We're out of sync. Hello.
So basically,
Yes.
yeah. Are we? So
We're back. Yes.
so basically, what I was saying is that
The WNBA is catching on. People watching it. This is
it's become that real money has now come into the league. So
Sure.
big corporations and big money has come in, and they have gone from not filling up arenas to now being sold out, and you have to be on a wait list.
Okay.
So it's clearly that things have changed, and I think it's only going to get bigger. And I think we're at the start of something that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did for the NBA 30 years ago is what's about to happen in the WNBA. And I made the joke before. I said $50 million, I'll buy a WNBA team all day. Those things are going to be worth billions of dollars. They're the cheapest sport asset in the world
Okay.
right now.
Well,
$50 million.
I wanna encourage you to start looking at movies.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not, but that's my point is that
Yeah.
if I can make money with something,
Yes.
I'm not so blind not to look at it and realize that, and you start out small, right? It's not like you go and you buy $10,000 or something.
Right.
all of a sudden I'm buying some Caitlin Clark shit, and then I'm selling a lot, and then you pull like $1,600, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you're like, cool, why did I do this? Right? And then you realize, and then you learn quick. But anyway, but that's what I sell. And then I also do sell some stuff like this in my store. I do sell
Okay.
these. So I have all 15 of these. I
I
have
don't know
all
what those are. I mean, I know they're
now
boots, but I
Olympics.
don't know what those are.
It's a cosplay cover. My Hero Academia, Boo Rissa. They're foils, and I have all 15 of them. So I bought out a print run
Okay.
of those. So I do carry those, and then I carry sports cards like this, which are a base in the card. So I got a
There you
bunch
go.
of that stuff too. So in my store. So you name it, I got it. You name
Awesome.
it, I got it. And unfortunately, I do not have the keys to the city that some people have. I do not think that image aged well for Eric Adams.
Right.
But it's all right. It's all right. Everybody gets to get one thing wrong in their life. Handing P. Diddy the key to the city was not Eric Adams' best moment.
No.
It's okay though. It's okay.
I think it is an appropriate recognition of the amount of clout P. Diddy has.
It's just the key. That key can't open up his jail cell anytime soon.
Well,
I will be here all night,
yeah,
everybody. I will be here all
exactly.
night. And remember, tip your waiters and your waitresses.
There you
And
go. And back Palace #1 on Kickstarter, or get it from a local comic store. Hooray.
and I believe everybody that is a wrap.
Awesome. As we say in the movie business.